For the side of Telegraph Hill, you see later in the tour. Above in the right, you see a mural on that building next to that keyhole house. It's an example of a mural or artwork you see on buildings around the city. They're authorized murals, not graffiti. Now we're going into the Italian part of town, and you know that by the lamppost. You see the Italian flag painted on them, red, white, and green. Over in Chinatown on Grand Avenue, you'll see dragons on the lamppost. Out of the gay part of town, the Castro district, you'll actually see rainbows on the lamppost, a symbol of gay pride. Of course, if you're in the financial district, you don't need lampposts to know where you're at, because you'll probably see a lot of banks. But out in Haight-Ashbury, all you got to do there to know where you're at, sometimes you just inhale the air, and you'll know where you're at, if you know what I mean. Although I do exaggerate a bit, because we're going to drive through Haight-Ashbury, and you folks can all inhale the air and judge for yourself. See that pyramid in the distance? That's the Trans-American Pyramid. It's now the second tallest building in the city. 853 feet tall, 48 stories, 3,600 windows. The wings at the top are elevators. So one's an elevator shaft, the other one's a stairwell with a spoke shaft. We'll go right by that shortly. I'll tell you more about it then. Meanwhile, we're going to cross over this street you may have heard about. This is called Lombard Street. If you go through this intersection, well, when the light changes, I guess, you can look up the hill to your right. You'll be able to see at the top of the hill on your right, you'll see cars going back and forth. Those are the 8 hairpin turns of the crookedest street in the world. I guess unless you consider Wall Street, I suppose. That's the crookedest street in the world. I'll let you be the judge of that. In any event, you'll see what I'm talking about here shortly when this light changes. Steve will drive us slowly through this intersection. You folks will get a chance to look up the hill to your right. It's called Rushing Hill, by the way. The early settlers here, when they arrived here, they found gravestones up there with Russian language on them. That's why it's called Rushing Hill. I think they might have been early fur traders. You'll look up to your right now, behind you there. The top of the hill up there. You can see where the cars are going back and forth up there. The crookedest street in the world. Over here on your left, coming up, is a playground. The Joe DiMaggio Playground. Named after the famous Yankee Clipper, Joe DiMaggio. He was raised here in North Beach. His father was a fisherman. You see those 2 church spires above on the left? That's the St. Peter and Paul's Church. That's where Joe DiMaggio and Marilyn Monroe did not get married. They got married at City Hall, because the Catholic Church would not recognize the marriage of divorcees. So they got married at City Hall, and then according to legend, they brought the entire wedding party over to the front of that church and had all their pictures taken for Life magazine, making it look like they got married there, much to the chagrin of the church. Those pictures of Joe and Marilyn were all over the world. I mean, that's just an old tour guide story, folks. I think you're taking it. On your left is that church, by the way. The address is 666 Pilgrim Street. The usual address of the Catholic Church. You've probably seen it before in the first Harry movie. Clint Eastwood. Built 1924. Now this is stop number 3 on your map. For Washington Square or North Beach, the Italian part of town. Anybody want to get off here? No one's getting off here. This, by the way, every day at 4 o'clock is where there's a walking tour for the North Beach area, where a tour guide will take you around the area on foot for about an hour and a quarter. Nobody's getting off here, Stephen. On your left, there's Washington Square. One of the first things you'll notice about it is that it's not exactly square. The other thing you might notice about Washington Square, there's the statue in the middle of it. Over there on your left is a George Washington. It's actually Benjamin Franklin. So it's a square that's not square, it's mislabeled, and it's here in North Beach, which has no beach. Sometimes I think I'm in the Twilight Zone. Nothing makes any sense around here. 1 block to your left, because as you might expect, we're in the Italian part of town, you see a lot of Italian restaurants. 1 block to your left, where that red awning is on the corner, 1 block to your left, that's Tony's Pizza. He's won awards around the world for his pizza, including in Italy, for his margarita pizza. He's even got his own international school of pizza there, where he teaches people how to make pizza the Tony's way. And coming up here on your right, shortly you're going to see on your right a place called Mara's Italian Pastry. They serve some pretty good cannolis in there. There it is on your right. They got a sign in the window as you walk in with a line from the first Godfather movie. It says, "Leave the gun, take the cannolis." For you Godfather fans. On your right you see that street sign there on the corner that says Beach Blanket Babylon Boulevard. It's named after a live show playing around the corner to the right at Club Fugazi. It's called Beach Blanket Babylon. It's the longest playing live show in the country, a live pop musical review. Famous for their hats and their costumes. Been there since 1974. They've been there so long they named the street on that block after them. One block on your left across the street there, on Stockton Street, you see North Beach Restaurant. It's a very fine northern Italian style cuisine there from the Toscana region. I recommend that restaurant. I've eaten there. So if you don't like the food in a restaurant that I recommend, folks, remember, don't blame Big Boss, blame Peter. That's me. I'm the one who recommended it. They always want me to say that. Up ahead of you on the left, coming up another church. There's the St. Francis of Assisi Church. That was built in 1860. That survived the 1906 earthquake. It's named after our namesake, the patron saint of the animals, St. Francis of Assisi. Every June you can bring your pets there and have them blessed for the blessing of the animals. One block to your left is a place called Cafe Trieste, which in 1956 was the first espresso cafe on the West Coast. And later on, that's where Francis Ford Coppola and Mario Puzo once sat at a booth and wrote the original screenplay to the first Godfather movie. And Francis Ford Coppola did a lot of his early film work here in San Francisco. There it is on your left, Cafe Trieste with a green and tan sign. Coming up here on your right is the Stinking Rose, famous for garlic on the menu. Everything on the menu there has garlic on it, including the wine and the ice cream, believe it or not. They've even got a sign there that says we season our garlic with food. On the left, there's the Condor Club, the first topless nightclub in the country, 1964, where Carol Dona performed. On the right, here's the famous City Lights bookstore, next to the Vesuvio Cafe. That's where the beatniks began in the 1950s, where Jack Kerouac and Allen Ginsberg used to recite poetry. They used to drink at the Vesuvio. That City Lights bookstore was founded in 1953 by Lawrence Ferlinghetti, a famous beat poet. It was the first all-paperback bookstore in the country at one time. Up ahead of you on the right, you see that green building, the triangular shape. That's called the Sentinel Building, also known as the Columbus Tower. They started building that building in 1904. They finished it in 1907. It survived the 1906 earthquake while under construction. It's all green because it's covered in copper. Now that building is currently owned by Francis Ford Coppola, who brought us the Godfather trilogy. His film company, American Zoetrope, is in there. He gave his daughter, Sophia, the top floor office. On the ground floor there we see that red awning where it says Cafe Zoetrope. That's where he sells wine from his Alexander Valley vineyard. On display in that cafe there on your right, there's a booth that he and Mario Puzo once sat at over at Cafe Trieste. They wrote the original screenplay to the first Godfather movie. Also known as the Columbus Tower.
Así es en Barcelona, muchas casas. Ahí estamos, saludos a los 41 que están turisteando con nosotros de gratis. De gratis están turisteando.
That building was built in 1972. The Trans-American Corporation, which was the holding company that was formed in 1934.
Estamos entrando en el distrito financiero.
Bank of America began here in 1904. And they were known as Bank of Italy, under APG&E. Now we're turning left on right now we're on Montgomery Street, we just turned onto.
En
This is the Wall Street of the West. We're now in the financial district, the third largest in the country, behind New York and Chicago. And back in 1848, during the gold rush, right along here was the shoreline. In those days, everything to our left was all water. It was called Yerba Buena Cove. The gold rush arrived in 1848. Almost 600 ships docked over here to our left. And they were abandoned by the crews and the passengers as they all ran to the hills to find gold. And many of those ships were then converted into saloons, gambling halls, brothels, hotels, even jails. And this became known as the Barbary Coast, period from 1848 to the early 1900s. Time when there was a lot of lawlessness, a lot of crime, a lot of really nasty goings on here in San Francisco. Nowadays, when they go to erect a new building in this part of town in the modern era, they consult archaeologists to retrieve any valuable artifacts that might still be buried beneath us. Here in this landfill, they've uncovered things like unopened bottles of wine and champagne. Some of those ships that were docked here are still buried here.
Sí, eso sí, la sopa de almeja.
Now we're coming up to our stop number 4 on your map, which is one Embarcadero Center. And this is where we every day at noon there's a walking tour here for the Barbary Coast. The tour guide will take you around the area on foot for about an hour and a quarter. Give you a more in-depth look into the area. This is coming up now, stop number 4, one Embarcadero Center. Anybody want to get off here? Stop number 4, one Embarcadero Center. Anybody want to do the walking tour for Barbary Coast? We'll be coming up here at noon very shortly. There'll be a tour guide here to do that. This is stop number 4, one Embarcadero Center.
Marina.
I gather nobody's getting off here, Stephen. So I guess we're good to go. Once again, a reminder, you folks sitting upstairs here,
Ajá, te electrocutas.
Era bueno, Jason.
Era bueno.
Don't try to reach out and touch things about you. Those wires, for example, they got 600 volts of electricity in them. Touch one of those.
Vaya, aquí es donde podemos ir a guardar el pistillo, ¿ves?
I wouldn't recommend that. They power on beauty buses. And that building above you on the left, that's called the Alcoa building. Notice how the supporting structures on the exterior.
Ya lo
That's
vamos a
an
hacer
example
después
of the
de
very
esto.
strict building codes here in the downtown area. Here in the financial district on this landfill. This is the earthquake code, of course. Very strict building codes down here in the downtown area. Coming up on your left, there's a green wooded area called Justin Herman Plaza. So you'll sometimes see the wild parrots of Telegraph Hill. They have bright green bodies with red heads. They're called conures. They make a lot of rackets. They fly around the city looking for food. They're not native to the Bay Area. And we're turning here. Once again, a reminder, everybody stay seated. And you see right in front of you here a good reason for that. That sign 14 feet 6 inches. Good reason to stay seated. Right there. Right there. That's how we became an open top bus. Right there. That's how we became an open top bus. Now I'm going to cross over California Street. You might see a cable car on your left. It goes up the hill to your right. There it is on your left. That's the California Street cable car line. It goes east and west. It doesn't go to Union Square. It goes up that big hill to your right. The big hill up there to your right, when this light changes, look up to the top of the hill, you'll see a very steep hill. It's called Knob Hill. Up there to the right on Knob Hill, that's where you'll find the Fairmont Hotel, the Mark Hopkins Hotel with the top of the Mark Bar, the Grace Cathedral, the Stanford Court, and the Huntington Hotel. And a lot of those places are named after the Big Four: Charles Crocker, Leland Stanford, Mark Hopkins, and Collis Huntington. Completed the Transcontinental Railroad in 1870. There's Knob Hill on your right.
Ah, ya.
I'm sorry.
Aquí estamos en el market.
This big building above you on the right, that's 101 California, with all the glass. Notice on the first 6 stories. Now we're going to turn left here onto Market Street, the main thoroughfare in the city. That's where we have a lot of our parades. When the Giants won the World Series, we had a parade here in Market Street. When the 49ers used to win Super Bowls, we'd have parades here in Market Street. Boy, that sure hasn't happened in a while.
Ah,
We have our
qué
annual
bonito,
Gay
mira.
Pride Parade here in Market Street. The largest gay pride parade in the world. Straight ahead of me, there's a landmark, the Ferry Building. They started building that in 1896. They dedicated it in 1898.
Ah,
It's designed to look like the
qué
Cathedral
guapo.
de Sevilla in Spain. That was the second busiest ferry terminal in the world during its stay. Second only to Charing Cross in London. Some 50 million people have passed through that ferry building at one time or another. But when we opened our 2 bridges, the Bay Bridge and the Golden Gate Bridge, it became less important as a ferry terminal. Although they still run ferries out of there to Sausalito and other parts of the bay. Nowadays, the ferry building is used mostly for restaurants and eateries. Every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, they have a wonderful organic farmers market in front of that ferry building. That building survived the 1906 earthquake fires because the Navy doused it with water to make sure it wouldn't burn. So they get supplies into the city. And that clock on that ferry building tower actually stopped at 5:17 in the morning, 5 minutes after the earthquake began. It took them a year to correct the time of that clock. And by the way, this stairway below you on the left, it goes down to the Embarcadero bar station. That's the last bar station before the bar trains go under the bay. And anyway, this ferry building is our next stop coming up. It's stop number 5. It's for the ferry building. Anyone want to get off here? Stop number 5. And I don't see anyone getting off, Stephen, but we may have some people boarding us. Stop number 5 for the ferry building.
¿Qué les parece?
No es bonito.
Diferente
muy
cuando uno maneja,
bonito.
cuando lo llevan a uno puede ver más.
Sí.
Uno maneja, lo va viendo hacia el frente.
¿Qué? ¿Qué decís, Alex?
Cuando uno maneja, he estado acá 28 años y cuando uno maneja acá no se da cuenta de lo que pasa alrededor de uno.
Ya.
Solamente va enfocado en la carretera.
Y hoy para la visita es mejor contratar un bus de esto, ¿verdad?
Claro que sí.
Porque aprendes y, ¿cómo se llama? Disfrutás.
Sí, así es.
Así que para aquellos amigos que quieran saludar a mi hermano Alex, ya saben, aquí está también nuestro amigo José, especialista en este tipo de tours. Y la estamos pasando bien, ¿verdad, Roberto?
Sí.
Sí. Saluda a Roberto Reyes. Vamos a saludar a todos nuestros amigos. ¿Qué tal se oye el audio? ¿Nítido? ¿Se oye bien?
¿Sí o no?
¿Sí o no? ¿Sí o no? ¿Cómo dice el bolo? ¡Ay! Se emborrachó esta
¿Y
cosa.
dónde está el bolo?
¿Y dónde está el bolo? ¿Ah? Saludos al bolo que nos
Saludos
está
al bolo.
viendo, ¿verdad? Desde acá, desde San Francisco. Ey, te estás haciendo un famoso, bolo. ¿Qué onda ahí? ¿Te va a echar tapirulazo? Oye, domingo, es doble.
Como dice Pedrito, qué bonito.
Qué bonito. Saludos a Pedrito que anda allí de Patechucho también.
Pedro, aquí te esperamos en San Francisco.
Bueno.
¿Y la Dina?
Y la Dina en los controles. Ahí está en los controles.
Aquí, si te querés liberar, salir del closet, aquí nadie te va a decir nada.
Aquí puedes andar feliz.
Certificado para nada.
Aquí vas a andar.
Querés sentirte libre.
Sí, aquí puedes andar agarradito de la mano. Bueno, vamos a seguir mejor con nuestra transmisión. Vamos a vamos a modificar esto. Así que saludos a los 58 que de Choto están turisteando con nosotros. Y miren, y en inglés.
Even though it's twice as long as the Golden Gate Bridge, 4.5 miles long. It handles twice as much traffic as the Golden Gate Bridge, 270,000 cars a day. It's a double-decker bridge. The lower deck goes out to Oakland and the East Bay. The upper deck comes into San Francisco. 5 lanes of traffic on each deck. And we're turning onto Mission Street. You take it all the way up to the end in front of us, you get to the Mission District, which is the Latino community. There are a lot of great Mexican restaurants out there. For you burrito lovers, they got taquerias out there. That'll make your burrito as big as your forearm. You got a big enough appetite. And now we're in the area called Soma, or South of Market area. It's also known as Silicon Valley North. A lot of high-tech industries come in here. Salesforce, Twitter, Adobe, Uber. A lot of construction going on because of it. You see in front of you there, a couple blocks ahead of us, you see that high-rise tower above you there in front of us. That's called Salesforce Tower. Now that's now the tallest building in the city, 1,070 feet tall, more than 200 feet taller than the Trans-American Pyramid. And they just opened that up recently. They just finished it. Salesforce Tower there above you on the left now. You turn away from it. Just getting off the Mission now. This building on your right, this is the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco. You got a little photo up in the corner when we get there. You'll see a circular sign that'll say Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco. For you folks with cameras, we're going to turn back onto Market Street, now the main thoroughfare of the city. As I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of our parades. Of course, in March, well, we just had our St. Patrick's Day parade not long ago. April 1st, believe it or not, they had the St. Stupid's Day parade. Party animals on the side